The greatest threat to your wealth isn't inflation, a bad boss, or a rigged economy. It's the person staring back at you in the mirror. Most people don't fail financially because they lack skill. They fail because they can't sit still. They panic if they lose money. They envy the neighbour's car. Or they trade their wealth for short-term status. Many people call it bad luck when they lose money. Marcus Aurelius would have called it bad discipline. The main reason people lose money is because of their undisciplined emotions. You don't stall in your career because the system is rigged. You stall because fear, ego, or emotions cloud your judgment. 2,000 years ago, the Stoics created a system specifically for this. And it wasn't to make you rich, it was to stop you sabotaging yourself. This isn't about positivity, this isn't about optimism, and this isn't about manifesting anything. Today, we're going to apply a 2,000-year-old operating system, not to make you a millionaire, but to make you impossible to break. Stoicism was born as a survival framework. Epictetus was born into slavery. No money, no agency, no life. His only freedom was his mind. Seneca was extremely wealthy, but he was surrounded by temptation, danger, and rivalry. He had money, but no room for emotional error. And Marcus Aurelius ran the Roman Empire during a time of war, betrayal, and plague. He knew that the whole thing could collapse at any time. These weren't inspirational speakers. These weren't poets. These were people who lived in a really tough time, and they created a framework for survival. They used the Stoic philosophy as a framework to cope with the stresses of life without self-destructing. Stoicism rests on a few brutal principles. Control what you can, accept what you can't. Reduce unnecessary desire, act rationally, and remain stable under pressure. Not emotionless, but unshakable. And a lot of this maps perfectly onto modern money, modern careers, modern success, and the modern mind. Epictetus's core rule was simple. Some things are up to us, some things are not. You do not control markets, inflation, interest rates, the business cycle, layoffs, or anything else outside of your own mind. If you're emotionally invested in controlling those, you're setting yourself up to lose. But you do control your skills, your savings rate, your actions under pressure, your spending, and your preparation. Here's the modern pathology. We spend every day looking at whether markets go up or down, looking at terrible news from around the world, thinking the world could end tomorrow. We constantly fear the future, but don't really do much to prepare for it. You check your portfolio daily, as though if you lost it, it would be the end. You're consciously anxious through the news, but you have no plan for how to deal with that. Stoicism forces your attention back to the only place power exists: your behaviour, your preparation, and your habits. And this is where financial strength really starts. Money has no personality. It's us that give it one. Fear turns money into paralysis. Greed turns it into a drug. Envy turns it into a scoreboard. Status turns it into a costume. The Stoics warned against these emotions because they make you fragile. If your identity is tied to your income, your title, or your lifestyle, any threat to those becomes an instant existential threat to who you are. A Stoic remains intact regardless of circumstance. Your income goes up or down, you lose money, something bad happens, but you stay resolute. Money becomes a tool, not a personality, not a measure of your personal worth. This is where negative visualization matters. If you've already imagined the worst case scenario, the downturn, the big bill, the loss of your job, When it comes along, they're not a surprise. You don't catastrophize, you execute the plan you have. This isn't pessimism, it's armor. Modern culture trains you to want everything. Stoicism trains you to want things deliberately. The wrong question is, should I buy this? The right question is, what does buying this train me to expect? Most lifestyle upgrades don't destroy your finances, but they do destroy your tolerance for discomfort. And once that's gone, your freedom follows. Stoic spending looks pretty boring. It's cooking in instead of eating out. It's waiting instead of making impulse purchases. It's choosing enough instead of more. Not because you have to, but because you're training your own sense of self-command. Next time you want to buy something, ask yourself the Seneca test. If I bought this thing, would my life actually be worse or just less impressive? If the answer is just less impressive, it's your ego buying it. Saving isn't deprivation, it's insulation. A buffer buys you freedom to leave bad situations, a freedom to take calculated risks, and a freedom to say no. Stoics train for uncertainty, and savings does the same. Your savings rate is one of the few levers that are actually under your control, but we all obsess about markets because they have the opportunity to make us more money. If your lifestyle rises with your income, you're not really wealthier, you're just more dependent. Stoicism flips the equation. Make your life simpler so your options expand. More portfolios die from emotion than crashes. Greed buys too late. Fear sells too early. Envy forces imitation. A Stoic investor accepts downturns. They accept that uncertainty and they think in decades, not weeks. If your plan only works when markets behave, it's not really a plan, it's just a hope. You can't control market returns. You can control your temperament. Choose strategies that match who you actually are, not who you think you are. Zoom out 20 years. Looking back that far, today's chaos is irrelevant. Distance creates calm, and calm protects your wealth. Your career is your biggest wealth engine and your biggest psychological trap. Titles expire and prestige fades, while skills compound. The most dangerous part of your career isn't the early struggle, it's the part where you start to plateau. Things get comfortable, safe, and you don't push yourself to learn more. Stoicism reframes adversity as training. Hard projects build your resilience. Feedback feeds your growth. Plateaus are an opportunity to think about your leverage, and layoffs force your reinvention. Nothing is wasted unless you waste it. Ask better questions. Which path makes me harder to replace? Which decisions create optionality? Where can I build rare strength? That's the Stoic career strategy. When applied properly, Stoicism gives you something more important than wealth. It gives you self-command, a mind that doesn't flinch under pressure, and a mind that is not driven by fear, greed, envy, and comparison. Wealth without self-command creates anxiety. Self-command without wealth creates limits. Stoicism shows you how to build both without losing yourself in the process. This is Self to Wealth.